Hey guys, um, I wanted to make a video about friendship, and I've been thinking about it a lot lately. Friendship is it's tough for me, which seems strange because I know so many people and I have so many great friends. Um, but I remember I'm going to say a lot today because I'm working through this as we make the video. But uh, I remember that I had a conversation years ago, and I was telling a story because I like to tell stories, and I was at work, and somebody asked me, they said, "Was that your friend?" And I'm like, "Well, it's a guy I know," and they said, well, "How long have you known that guy?" And I was like, "I don't know, like 10 years." And they were like, "You've known him 10 years, but he's not your friend." And I was like, "Well, I mean, he's my friend, but." Um, I don't know if I'm his friend. Like, I don't know if he considers me his friend. And they thought that was weird. And it probably is weird, um, especially to know somebody for so long and to see them, occasionally or even, often and not know um, whether you're friends or not. It wasn't that I didn't think we were friends. Like, I would have done anything for that person um, if they needed something. I just didn't want to presume that they felt the same way about me that I felt about them. That's something that that I've worked through, that I've dealt with uh, a few times actually in life. And anyway, the reason that I'm talking about friendship today is this week. Um, Someone that my kids went to school with had an accident and he passed away, and pretty big impact on the community. He's a great guy. He really contributed, like like you expect someone twice his age. Um, and I didn't know him that well, and I don't know exactly how close my kids were to him, but he was a schoolmate, and they did know him. My son interacted with him quite a bit. But anyway, got they're at that point, right? There's this age we get to, unfortunately, I guess maybe, or there's a mode where we lose a friend, whether we're unfortunately in school or whether we're in our 20s. Hopefully, you can keep your friends as long as possible. And I got to thinking about the first time that I had a classmate that passed away, or when I had a friend that had an accident. A lot of that a lot of that kind of came flooding back, and I realized how many people I had lost over the years. Um, the first person that I remembered, the first person that came to mind was my friend Gerald. He's I worked with him in the Carpenters Union. Some of you, if you're watching this, if you know me locally, you would know him too. He was a great dude, a great guy, and he had there was a work accident, um, and he was involved in. It was probably over 10 years ago. Seems like maybe 2006, 2005, somewhere around there. But the funny thing about Gerald was, I met him at the apprenticeship, and we were in class together. He worked a different kind of construction than I worked at that time. We ended up eventually. I moved over to his side, the industrial side. But he kind of picked me as his friend, right? I mean, that's how I always felt, right? He just kind of like came up and started talking to me, and then it just went from there, right? We just kind of built each. Like, I almost didn't have a choice. Like, he just kind of, not that he latched onto me, not that he was clingy or anything like that. He just, I don't know, maybe he thought I was somebody he wanted to know, or maybe he thought that that I needed a friend. Maybe, I don't know, but um, I remember that in our relationship earlier on, that he just kind of like, we started talking at school. We would see each other 4 times a year, and then I realized that he lived not far from me, and so we went out a couple of times and shot some pool, had some drinks, whatever. Started palling around. Then we just more and more things that we had in common just kind of developed over a few years, and then eventually I was looking for work, so I started working in the power plants and things where he had spent most of his apprenticeship and his career. And I worked with him. Kind of showed me the ropes, got me going. Found out that I wasn't as soft as as what he had said I was, and I took to the job, and he was a big help in me getting good at it and becoming successful in that. And um, when I got married, I started having kids. He was right in there at that same time. He met his wife, and they started having some kids, and it was. I mean, he was around a lot, and I loved it. It was great. We went on some trips together with some friends. We rode motorcycles. We worked on bikes. We built scaffold together, and then he was gone. He went on a job out of state, and there was an accident, and then that was it. And there's really not there's not like a whole week that goes by that something doesn't remind me of him, or that he just pops into my head, which is strange. It's always been strange. Like I said, it's been over 10 years. Still to this day, I carry a phone. Of course, I carry a phone. Everybody carries a phone, but I have a photo of him in my phone just because once in a while, I'll think about something and then I'll just flip to that photo. So it's amazing how people impact us. Sometimes it's not even our choice, right? Sometimes it's their choice. Sometimes they kind of insert themselves into your life and you don't even realize how much you need it. So I'm hoping my kids are dealing well. We're trying to talk to them as much as possible about it. Obviously, we're going to the services. And I hope that when this happens to you, if it happens to you, inevitably, something you can remember that I try to focus on is like, everything about having him as a friend was a positive, and I get to keep that. And I don't know. I don't really have a moral to this story other than this is something that I saw my kids going through, and I realized that I had been through it and that it still impacted me today. But that there's a lot of good. There's a lot of good that I can remember about that friendship. And that kind of led me to how important friends are, right? So make sure that the relationships you have are impactful, that you're giving everything you can to those friendships, and that you know how much, or that you let those people know how much they impact you. It's another thing that I'm not that great at. I hope that I made Gerald feel like he was my friend, because he definitely was. So that's enough sappiness for today. I'll see you next time.